What is going on, guys? I'm back with another reaction, and The Mandalorian is back today, so we're going to be watching Season 2, Episode 1. This episode is just called Chapter 9. It doesn't look like there's a title to it. Maybe there's something big in it they're trying to keep a secret. Since I'm watching this a day late, I've seen several video thumbnails, and I think I might have caught a glimpse of something important, but I'm not totally sure, and I can't even remember definitively what it was. So hopefully I haven't been spoiled, but either way, I'm really excited to get back into this show because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I haven't done a Star Wars video in a while, which is crazy considering I'm called Director Jedi Nat. You think I'd be doing a lot more Star Wars videos, but I'm here to rectify that. I'm trying a slightly different setup for this reaction, so we'll see how that goes, but let's not waste any more time. This is a long one, so let's just get right into it. That shape in the background almost looks like a Wookiee. I know it's not, it just looks that way. Is that C-3PO graffiti? Wow. Oh, fighting pit. Oh, a Gamorrean fighting pit? Oh, that is so cool. I love that effect with the, I'm guessing they're vibro axes. That's one of the things I like about him. He's always smart and practical. Well, that went south fast.
Tell me where the Mandalorians are, and I'll walk out of here without killing you. Thought you said you weren't the gambler.
Oh yeah, he knows what's about to go down. This music is great. Again, Season 1 was great, but it seems like they've really stepped it up a notch. They really wanted to make this one special, and I appreciate whenever they do that. Season 1 laid a solid foundation that Season 2 is now hopefully going to build upon. They always run. Batman style. Where were the other drugs going?
You must give me your word that you won't kill me. I promise you will not die by my hand. Now where is the Mandalorian you know of? Tatooine. What?
Is it going to be Boba Fett? I'm not going to go into details. I've read the Aftermath trilogy, so if you're someone like me who's read that, you probably know what I'm talking about. But I'm wondering if it's actually going to be Boba Fett. Maybe that's the screenshot I saw that everyone's talking about, and it's been spoiled for me, but everyone's been guessing Boba Fett anyway, so. Oh. Yeah, as much as I love the Mandalorian as a character, and, you know, he does good things like trying to help Baby Yoda, they do have to throw these reminders in that at the end of the day, he's a ruthless bounty hunter who will do what it takes to get the job done. Dude, that looks so good. This all looks so good. Nice to see her again. And the pit droids, with her record-setting pit droid team.
Like it remembers me. How much do you want for it? Just kidding, but not really. You know, if this thing ever divides or buds.
I'm here on business.
Interesting that they throw in a little Phantom Menace humor, but I say be all-inclusive with Star Wars.
Where is Mos Pelgo? I'm told there's
Mos Pelgo. Got Mos Eisley, Mos Espa, now Mos Pelgo.
I just can't get good help anymore. I don't even know who to complain to.
That's the red droid from A New Hope that had a bad motivator, look!
This R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
And then the dude just bursts out of the hut, chops their heads off, and he slaughters all the men. And not just the men, but the women and the children too. It's haunted our people for years, man. Whoever does the music in this show does such an excellent job. I need to check who that is afterward. It's good to know that even though John Williams may not be scoring any more Star Wars movies, there are still worthy composers that will be continuing the tradition. Wonder if we'll see any more familiar faces.
patience.
God.
I'm looking for a Mandalorian. Well, we don't get many visitors in these parts. Can you describe him? Someone who looks like me.
You mean the Marshal?
Your Marshal wears Mandalorian armor?
Huh? See for yourself.
Is it? Okay, this is probably the character I'm thinking of from the Aftermath books, which I keep saying I'm not going to talk about them, but looks like that's Boba Fett's salvaged armor. So yeah, I'm not going to talk any more details from the Aftermath books, but I recommend reading them if you never have, or at least looking up some details from them. Ah, he took off the helmet, that's how he knows he's not a real Mandalorian.
Never met a real Mandalorian. But then I see the little guy.
Where did you get the armor?
Right off some Jawas.
Who salvaged it from the Sarlacc pit, yeah. Is that a Sarlacc? Like moving? No, it couldn't be. Oh no, it's gonna go for the bantha. Oh.
Thanks to this armor, I've been able to protect this town from bandits, sand people. They look to me to protect them. But a crate dragon is too much for me to take on alone.
Crate dragon? They actually have a crate dragon in this? I love this show for referencing things from the expanded universe, both old and new.
But I know where it lives.
How far?
Not far.
This is gonna be like that Tatooine mission in the first KOTOR game, where you have to hunt down a crate dragon.
We didn't even have time to celebrate. That very night, the mining collective moved in.
Oh, so they're explaining how things went from Return of the Jedi Special Edition to now.
Slave camp overnight.
Well, they're actually taking time to develop and even show the supporting characters' backstory. Wait, if this is supposed to become a slave colony, then why are they killing everyone?
I guess every once in a while, both sunshine on a womp rat scale.
It's a good quote.
I was saying.
Alright, you know what? Since they're clearly going into stuff that's dealt with in the interludes and the Aftermath books, they're kind of spoiling it anyway, so I'll only talk about the stuff from the Aftermath books that specifically deals with this and nothing else, if you're someone who doesn't want spoilers, so.
My treasure bought me more than a full water skin.
There's Boba Fett's armor that they salvaged from the Sarlacc pit. So I guess that means he's basically dead.
Don't be so sure, my young Jedi.
In the original expanded universe, he did survive the Sarlacc pit, but I guess they're taking a different approach this time around. That is awesome. What? 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 He's just sitting there in the middle like, what is going on? I cannot get over how good this episode looks. It makes me confident that Star Wars has a very good future on television. Yeah, this is like that mission in KOTOR where you have to go to the Krayt Dragon's cave and kill it in order to get to a piece of the map.
It lives in an abandoned Sarlacc pit.
Oh!
There's no such thing as an abandoned Sarlacc pit.
There is if you eat the Sarlacc.
Maybe Boba did survive the Sarlacc, but then the Sarlacc got eaten and now he's in a Krayt Dragon. Well, there is some rumbling, but I don't see a... Wait a minute, there is a Krayt Dragon. I can see one of them now. Oh, this time he left the Bantha alone. You know, I've always been curious what the Sand People look like under there. Like, if they're just a different culture of humans, or if they're alien, or what.
Where's it getting reinforcements?
I volunteered your village.
And the Sand People are willing to help.
I like that they're going into this conflict between the normal citizens of Tatooine and the Tuskens, because this has been very prevalent throughout both trilogies.
It better. Joining forces is their only hope.
Help us, Tuskens. You're our only hope. I think he's gone. One of you go out and check. Me. Ah, me. I love the camera angling right now. It is so impressive. Oh, wait a minute. Did they just switch to full screen instead of black bars on top and bottom? Or was it always like that and I just wasn't paying attention? Yeah, they did switch to full screen instead of the black bars on top and bottom so that they could get more wide shots. So, it's awesome. Not awesome. It's like Godzilla rising to his full height. Excuse me? Great dragons can do that? Oh. Yes, let's go.
Just keep shooting.
Go for the eye, go for the eye.
I've got an idea. Get its attention.
Oh, they're gonna get it to eat the bantha with the explosives. These poor banthas.
What's the plan? You're gonna take care of the child. What are you gonna do? I don't know, but wish me luck.
He just pulled a Han Solo, wow. Boba Fett. Where? Well, I guess this show is about me now. Maybe each season will be about a different Mandalorian. That would be a pretty interesting concept. Never mind. So Boba Fett may not have been able to survive the Sarlacc, but this Mandalorian survived the inside of a crate dragon. Ugh. Yuck. Oh, baby Yoda, don't eat that.
I didn't have time to explain.
No need. This was well earned.
It was my pleasure.
I hope our paths cross again.
You know, part of me was hoping that he'd let him keep it, but... Oh. And they found the egg, just like in KOTOR. Part of me was hoping he'd let him keep the Mandalorian armor because he earned it, but I guess he is pretty strict about that sort of thing. Oh, and it switches back to black bars. Normally I don't like it when TV shows and movies have to go back and forth between those, but I like the way they did that. What? No. They red herringed us. This Marshal and him wearing the Boba Fett armor was a red herring. I read the Aftermath books. They went into some of that stuff with Boba Fett. We all just thought he was dead at this point because they haven't referenced him in so long. But he is alive, just like in the old expanded universe. Ugh, in your face! My god, I can't believe this. I take back what I said now. You know, at first I really wanted that guy to be able to keep the Mandalorian armor, but then I said like, oh, I guess it's kind of fitting and it makes sense for the situation. But now that the armor has been reclaimed, it could go back to Boba Fett. Or maybe he's not going to show up again. Maybe it's just a fun little reference. Maybe Boba Fett has just left all that stuff behind. But I mean, And they got Tamara Morrison to go. I hope I'm saying his name right. Oh, but I guess I do want to see Boba Fett again because they did go into his character a lot more in the Clone Wars TV series, and obviously he was in the original trilogy. I read a lot of expanded universe stuff about him, so there's a lot of ways they could bring his story to a really satisfying close in The Mandalorian. I can't... Oh, man. You know, I've said before, like, I didn't know if I was crazy about just a bunch of characters we know showing up, like Boba Fett, Ahsoka Tano. People are really wanting them to show up this season, but, you know, I guess since this show is going to be dealing with significant Mandalorian stuff, it does make certain characters to show up, like Ahsoka Tano, for example, does have connections to the Mandalorians because of Clone Wars, and obviously Boba Fett is a Mandalorian, especially if you have to go back to Tatooine, so it's just cool to see him again, and I guess since we're dealing with Mandalorians and trying to track down Mandalorians, having him show up, at least as a cameo, is cool, and maybe he'll show up in future or stuff, I don't know. Oh, wow. Okay, guys, that was The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. Oh my gosh, I'm still so fixated on the end of the episode, but I'm going to try to give an overview of my thoughts for the entire episode. So right off the bat, what I noticed is that the production quality is just so unbelievably amazing. It was amazing in Season 1, but you can tell that they've really stepped it up a lot in Season 2, that they really wanted to make this feel special. Like the lighting, the costumes, the creature design, the production. Oh, it is also good. This is an amazing looking show. The camera work, the action, the performances, it is all so incredible. So props to every single person in those departments who did all that stuff. It's great to see The Mandalorian picking up right where he left off last season. I mean, it's still much a very episodic show, but they're sticking with the overarching theme. I like that compared to the first season, because the first season was mostly just running away from stuff, trying to keep the child safe, and then standalone adventures that come from that. But this time he's directly working toward an objective of trying to find where this child comes from, trying to find Mandalorian. So there's all this great stuff that he's going to run into. And that's something I mentioned because before I've been in the camp of people who don't want a bunch of well-known Star Wars characters to show up in this because then it would make it just feel too unnecessarily connected. It can't be its own standalone story. But at the same time, there are some characters who make sense. Like if this is a guy who's lurking for Mandalorians and trying to find where Yoda's people come from, it makes sense that there are certain characters who are going to show up. Like now that we know that Boba Fett is alive, Boba Fett wears Mandalorian armor and he's a pretty significant player in the Star Wars universe. So it does make sense for him to show up at least as a cameo. And you know, other characters like Ahsoka Tano or Sabine Wren who have connections to Mandalorians. Again, not saying I want a whole bunch of other Star Wars characters and events to come up because The Mandalorian does do its own thing pretty well, but I have kind of lightened up on being so strict about that, and if more characters like Boba Fett show up and if they go more into Boba Fett, that would be really cool. But speaking of connections to stuff, I did not expect them to go into the books as much as they did. Now, the story group does do a fairly good job most of the time of making sure everything fits together overall, but certain details kind of get overshadowed by the movies and TV shows. Like, for example, The Rise of Skywalker kind of went against certain things that were in the books set after Return of the Jedi. The canon books, I mean, the old expanded universe is a whole other thing. But they actually went into stuff from the interludes of the Aftermath trilogy. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, the Aftermath trilogy is a trilogy of books. It deals with a certain group of characters working together to help bring down the Empire in the year after Return of the Jedi. But the books also include some interludes of random scenes, like we'll get a short little chapter saying what this character's doing or what that planet was up to, or just kind of what's going on around the galaxy to help give a bigger picture and to throw in some fun moments. And one plot that they went into throughout the books was this guy finding Boba Fett's armor from the Jawas and kind of becoming this Marshal character and rallying people to fight together. And some people were wondering, okay, does that mean Boba Fett is dead? Is this maybe actually Boba Fett? I think that character they ended up confirming was not Boba Fett within that story, but people were still wondering, was Boba Fett alive? And they actually went into that here. They directly connected to that, which is awesome. I didn't expect them to do that. But no, they went into it. They actually expanded upon this character. We really got to see see him, and it's really cool. And he also served as a red herring. We thought that this confirms that Boba Fett is dead. We're focusing on this guy, and now the Mandalorian's gonna have to move on. But no, then at the end we get that little cameo of Boba Fett, who looks like he's gotten quite a bit of damage, and I'm wondering what's he been up to. Why hasn't he gotten his armor back? Is he in self-imposed exile? Is he rethinking his life? Who knows? There's so much they could do with that if he decides to come back, or maybe they could just leave it as a little cameo. I don't know. But back to the main plot of the episode. I thought the conflict was really interesting because the idea of the regular citizens of Tatooine versus the Sand People has been very prevalent in the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy to an extent. So I thought it was cool that they went into that here. Two different peoples who are often at war with each other having to work together. It was done really effectively. And they actually had a crate dragon, which to my knowledge, we've never seen one of those in live action or animation. That's just been in the books and the video games. But they brought it in and it was really cool. Again, just the special effects and the production design is just excellent in this episode. The whole thing with having to go to a crate dragon's cave and kill it and then get its egg, like the Sand People were holding up what I'm guessing was an egg at the end. That very much reminded me of one of the missions on Tatooine in Knights of the Old Republic, which again is an excellent game if you've never played it before. I know they're not tying heavily into that stuff, but the fact that they take influence from it and that they reference it and that super fans like me can make those connections, that's what I really appreciate. It's like Star Wars Explained said, the best way to do a multimedia franchise is to reward the people who consume everything without alienating the people who don't. Because again, I'm someone who's read a lot of stuff and watched a lot of stuff outside of the movies and TV shows, and I felt very rewarded in this episode. But I can also tell that someone who doesn't read a lot of that stuff will not be alienated. They'll still be able to follow what's going on, and that's the way to do it, and it's really cool. And of course, I love Baby Yoda. I mean, he didn't get a lot of moments to shine outside of more the beginning of this episode, but he's just always really adorable, always has just the right amount of humor to add when scenes are getting really tense. And while they didn't get what they were looking for at the end, the episode still ended in a really satisfying way. It didn't seem that way at first because, again, I wanted that Marshal to be able to keep the armor, but I guess it did make sense for the Mandalorian to be very strict about tradition and take it with him, and now we know Boba Fett's alive, so that could come into play later. And they're going to continue their mission to look for Mandalorians and try to figure out where Baby Yoda comes from, so I'm very excited to see what comes next. So yeah, this was a fantastic episode. I love the production. It's very well made. I was really into the story. I loved just how wholesome it feels because it connects to the Star Wars movies, the books, some other TV shows. It even threw in a little Phantom Menace references. So I like when new Star Wars stuff finds a way to incorporate all the things from all the stuff that has come before and make it into something really cool while still standing on its own. That's what I can't emphasize enough, is that it does stand on its own very nicely. This season is already off to a great start, taking it to the next level, and I am so excited to see what comes next. With that, I'll turn it over to you guys. What did you think of this episode? Feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content. Also, be sure to check out my other videos over there. It really does mean a lot. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next reaction.